Good morning. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of Breakfast Central. For the next 2 hours, we're going to be looking at stories happening within the country, some of the biggest political stories. I am Olive Emodi.
And I am Shehu of Borno. Thank you very much for joining us. We, of course, as always, encourage you to be a part of the conversations that we have. Simply tweet at News Central TV. Join us via YouTube, or encourage people to join us via YouTube, because if you're watching on television, then thanks for joining us via YouTube. Anyway, we have the next 2 hours to have the biggest conversations happening here in Nigeria concerning politics and other affairs. In Maiduguri this morning, there's, of course, still the set for hundreds, if not thousands, of people that have been declared missing as a result of the flooding in Maiduguri. We did see the pictures of the vice president, of course, as he visited Maiduguri yesterday to assess the situation by himself. But it's once again a very, very, very terrible disaster. I saw videos from Maiduguri yesterday, very scary videos and pictures, and I hope that the right questions are asked as succor is being brought to these people. Questions mostly about the Akko Dam, that is said to have overflowed once again. I saw that there were reports of the rehabilitation of the dam that was meant to be done in 2023. It was shifted. Actually, it's been pushed for many, many years. And so it has not been properly rehabilitated over time, and we're going to look into whether that is one of the major reasons that we're once again seeing this flooding. I mean,
the scary part of the flooding isn't just how people's houses are submerged and, people have been temporarily displaced, but the fact that a zoo in the northeast region has reported that a number of their animals, have left the zoo, of course, because of the flooding, and have asked people to be careful. So there have been sightings of creatures around the different parts in Borno State. Imagine just being in your house or trying to step out during the flood and seeing a crocodile or an alligator somewhere around. I think the thought of what that will mean, and how not only are they at risk of being drowned in the flood, not only are they displaced in their homes, there's also the risk of being attacked by wild animals. And there's also the fact that these wild animals who are meant to be taken care of in the zoo, have been endangered and now also a danger to others.
I mean, whenever there's disasters like this, there's definitely going to be, all or different parties that will be affected. The zoo being affected definitely, presents more danger to the people in Maiduguri. But I don't know how many, crocodiles we're talking about here. I don't think there's also 1,000. There's going to be one or two. I don't know how many lions are really going to. No, the point is the Daily Trust reports 200,000 displaced. I'm believing that there's going to be casualties that maybe would run into dozens, if not hundreds. There's going to be homes that will be completely destroyed or swept away by the flood. And I think that these are the points that NEMA should be more focused on. How do we provide succor to these 200,000 that the Daily Trust is reporting? If these numbers continue to rise, what is the plan to provide more succor? I did, when I was preparing my script yesterday, I saw the numbers of IDP, number of people in IDP camps in Nigeria, and it is completely staggering, these figures. Keep in mind that these people have been in IDP camps for years. These are situations that eventually lead more people into IDP camps, because there's no home to go back to. There's nowhere to go back to, to call home if the government doesn't, provide homes for these people right after the flood. And so I did question it yesterday with Mr. Ikechukwu when I was asking, how a state can run effectively for 4 years with a governor and have hundreds of thousands of people living in IDP camps, maybe tens of thousands of people living in IDP camps, and the governor can conclude his 4-year tenure and is not able to send those people, or at least provide some level of succor to those people so that they can once again find their footing and go back home. They remain in these IDP camps for 4 straight years, administration after administration, and that is their reality.
I mean, it's a sad reality.
Shocking.
No, it is a sad reality. Again, I mean, whilst that is also a very important factor, I'd also mention that to those who are in Borno to please be careful, because there are animals on the wild. The reports are that the cages housing the lions and the hyenas have been submerged underwater, so they're not even quite sure if the animals are still within, the zoo's borders, if they're still within the cages or if they've been let free. There have been some sightings of animals around, so everyone should please be careful. I was reading an interview of a man who had said that his greatest fear right now is the fact that he could literally run into a wild animal, and that would also be another risk to his life. So it's dealing with risks on multiple levels. The fact that there's no home and they have to face wild animals, and it's just a lot of things happening at the same time. We do hope, that some measure of succor is brought to the people in Borno State, and that questions are being asked regarding this. Like we've mentioned earlier, there are people that need to answer questions. The government of the day needs to understand what exactly is being done. And it's not just in Borno State. This is not in any way to minimize what's happening in Borno State. I'm saying that because I remember when the Abure Estate one happened, and a number of us there talking, it feels like we only make a lot of noise when there's an actual flood, and after a while everybody goes back to business as usual, no questions being asked, no consequences for actions, and then we just get back to life as usual until the next rain cycle when there's another flood, or one dam has been let loose. So it feels like we just keep rinse repeat, going through the same cycles over and over again, with no accountability had, with no consequences that are being meted out. Very true.
But of course, these are some of the things that we're going to x-ray today. Yesterday we had our reporter Umar Kirawa join us from Borno State, where he gave us a live report of what the situation was like over there. We got to speak with one or two people as well, who had stated that they had lost all their belongings. One of the people that he was speaking with said the only thing that he had left were the clothes that he was wearing, yesterday. So it's a very, very sad, very, very sad situation, and I believe that there's so much more effort that needs to be shown in bringing these people some level of succor and rehabilitation after these disasters. There have been warnings, flood warnings, in the last couple of weeks, that would occur in states across Nigeria.
In fact, the dates were very specific, yes, from Wednesday up until Friday. Yes. We had seen these updates, and that's what we are talking about when we're reviewing the papers. That there's been warnings by NEMA. Are the governors in these affected states, are they making plans to ensure that it doesn't become an emergency of some sort? Is there alternative accommodation? It's not enough to say to people, which is what we see a number of the times, people in so parts should move to the highlands or should move to these parts. Is there an alternative measure? Because it's the government's responsibility to guarantee the safety and the security of citizens. So if you have the land belongs to the governor, the Land Use Act provides that, in Section 1, that the Land Use Act is primarily belongs to the governor, right? So if you as the governor who owns these lands, or you're holding these lands, in trust for the people, what are you doing to ensure that they're habitable and they're safe for citizens, even when these warnings have come up? But we'll talk about this some more, and we'll also talk about the drama in the Labour Party. But let's share with you what the top stories are, and after that, we bring you breakfast headlines. Labour Party. Yesufu refutes Abure's accusations. There have been accusations, counter-accusations, and today we'll find out what the truth is. Atiku slams Tinubu's rule as worse than a military regime. And away from Alhaji Atiku, severe flooding hits Maiduguri following a loud dam collapse. We started the show with this conversation. Umar Kirawa would also be joining us much later. Military vows to apprehend bandits in Zamfara. And we'll be reviewing the newspaper front pages. We'll have our analysts join us, and we open the phone lines for you as well. But now let's bring you breakfast headlines.
Welcome to Breakfast Headlines. Let's begin by telling you that President Bola Tinubu has ordered the immediate evacuation of residents in flood-hit communities. In a statement on Tuesday, Tinubu expressed deep concern over the severe flooding in Maiduguri, Borno State's capital, and directed government agencies to expedite rescue operations. He assured Governor Babagana Zulum that the federal government is prepared to work closely with the state to meet the urgent humanitarian needs of those affected. Borno State is experiencing its worst flooding in decades, with thousands displaced and critical facilities, including a post office, the Maiduguri Teaching Hospital, a cemetery, and a zoo heavily impacted. In the meantime, Vice President Kashim Shettima paid a courtesy visit to the Shehu of Borno, Abubakar Ibn Umar Garba El Kanemi, following a devastating flood in Maiduguri. The Shehu expressed gratitude to the federal government for its prompt response to the disaster. He, however, urged the government to establish a high-level committee to thoroughly assess the causes and effects of the flood, which has created widespread damage across the region. Drawing parallels to a similar flood in 1994, the Shehu emphasized the importance of finding a lasting solution to prevent future occurrences.
Your Eminence, we are here at the directive of President Bola Tinubu to commiserate with the government and people of Borno State, most especially His Excellency the Governor, and Your Eminence, the Father of the State, over the very catastrophic flooding incident this morning that devastated a greater chunk of Maiduguri. The President has given the assurance that the federal government will stand firmly behind the government and people of Borno State towards ameliorating the pitiable conditions of our people. We are talking to the organized private sector for them to further reinforce the efforts of the Borno State government. Honestly, Your Eminence, the tragedy that we have seen is well beyond the capacity of the Borno State government alone to shoulder.
I thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your timely visit to Borno and Maiduguri particularly to sympathize us with these very sudden mistakes. In fact, it's very unfortunate and regretful, especially this particular time when most of the people are about to wait and take their food items from the farm, and this unfortunate incident, and that's terrible. However, it is an act of Allah, and nobody will question the act of Almighty Allah as anything if by Allah is justifiable, correct, and good. Your Excellency, people of Borno are very grateful.
Now, let's also tell you that the severe flooding in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, has led to a prison break at the city's custodial facility on Tuesday, with an unconfirmed number of inmates escaping. The flooding caused extensive damage, breaching security barriers and weakening structural supports, allowing inmates to escape. Authorities have warned that the escapees are considered highly dangerous and may be armed, posing an increased threat to public safety in the state, which is already grappling with insurgency. A manhunt is currently underway, with law enforcement agencies mobilizing additional resources to recapture the escaped inmates. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Army has confirmed carrying out an operation in Okuama community in its continued bid to recover all stolen weapons during the killing of its personnel by some gunmen on March 14th this year. The General Officer commanding 6th Division of the Nigerian Army, Major General Jamal Abdulsalam, who stated this in a Furum barrack of the 3 Battalion, says the Army continues to search for all its missing weapons. The Department of State Services has released the passport of the embattled National President of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Joe Ajaero. The release was facilitated on Tuesday by Abubakar Marshal of the Falonot Chambers. The DSS had seized Ajaero's passport following his release on Monday night after being detained for over 15 hours while en route to the United Kingdom for union business. The NLC's President Counsel, Femi Falana, confirmed the release, stating Ajaero's passport was handed over today through his colleague, Abubakar Marshal. In response to Ajaero's attention, the NLC had issued a midnight ultimatum to the government, prompting the DSS to release him before the deadline. And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. Let's move back to Breakfast Central, where we get into our top stories. I am Osaogie Ogbonwa. Welcome once again to Breakfast Central. Now, the former National Treasurer of the Labour Party, Mrs. Oluchi Okpara, has yet again raised alarm over alleged misappropriation of 3.5 billion naira by Julius Abure, the party's, former acting national chairman. The money generated during the 2023 election. This is as Abure himself defended, his points, stating that social critic and co-founder of the Bring Back Our Girls movement, Aisha Yusufu, and Pastor Itwa Igbodalu were signatories to the accounts where campaign donations were channeled, and claimed that the party had no access to these accounts. Well, Aisha Yusufu rather responded to Julius Abure, calling him a liar and stating that she did not embezzle any funds. She also shared from a post in 2022 where Abure asked people to donate to the Labour Party account, contradicting his claims that the party had no involvement in campaign funding.
Joining us this morning is the former National Treasurer for the Labour Party, Oluchi Okpara. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning.
It's a lot of drama that's going on with the Labour Party, and this isn't the first time that we've heard you speak about this. Some months back, I think sometime in February, you had spoken about this and you had been suspended. So we want to go back to how all of this began, when you first raised the alarm about the $3.5 billion, the allegations of mismanagement of funds, of forgery, and all the other handled.
Yeah, I came out sometimes in February, like you said, to say that the former national chairman of our party, Barrister Julius Abure, has to come out clean to explain what had happened to the finances of the Labour Party, allegations of embezzlement, misappropriation, misapplication of power, and a whole lot of things that I came out to say that time, including the forging of the late national chairman's signature to withdraw money from an account after his death. So, and I had come out, and I was thinking that Abure should have come out to explain to Nigerians, or even allow an external auditor to audit the accounts of the Labour Party. But he has refused to do the needful. Instead, he's trying to do a campaign against the man, Mr. Peter Obi, who gave him life. Because before now, there was no Abure. Before now, Labour Party was nowhere. So I think it's ingratitude on his part, on his side, to come out to want to damage the image of an icon, political icon that is known to the world, not just to Nigeria. Abure should come out, because I say he who must go to equity must come with clean hands. He should not divert attention. He should come out to clear the allegation on his head. I think this story is not new to Nigeria, because I came out shouting from pillar to post, telling Nigerians that we have to lead by example. Because you can't be saying that the government of the day is not doing the right thing, whereas we have corruption eating under us. Let's even start with Abure. Let him allow an independent auditor to audit the account first. Let's start with ourselves first, before pointing an accusing finger. And again, we did have a campaign account for the Labour Party. So I don't know why he's coming out to say that we never had a campaign account. We did, we have. Aisha Yusufu mentioned the account number yesterday. So we're sure we did have an account. So he should stop peddling lies. To me, it's an attempt to cover whatever he has done. And that shouldn't be.
Let's go back to
your full chest.
Mr. Okpara, let's go back to February, from your allegations in February. Can you shed some light or provide some clarity as to why you are certain Julius Abure must be questioned or is responsible for the mismanagement of those funds? As a treasurer, you're a former treasurer, are there things that you noticed or things that you saw that gives credence to your claims that Julius Abure must be the one who has mismanaged those funds?
Yes, thank you for this question. I came out that February, I said that the late national chairman's signature was forged 2 months after his death. Before the passing of the late national chairman, A.A. Salam of blessed memory, the party didn't have any money in the accounts. Then 2 months after his death, monies were cleared by Julius Abure. 2 months after the man's death, he never bothered what the family was going through as at that time. And again, Abure, at that time that I came out, I noticed that he was transferring money to his wife's account, to his brother's account, John Abure, to his company's account, to everybody, even down to the staff of the office. He will use the staff's account to siphon money. At the end of the day, this same staff will send that money to an account that will send to an account that will get to Abure. So there are a whole lot of things. I'm emotional about this whole thing, because a lawyer that he claims to be forged a signature of a late man, the national chairman of our party. He didn't even care what the outcome was going to be. So if he said I'm lying, he should let that account be reactivated so the Nigerians can actually see, to even question him How on earth did the man, after his death, came out to sign an account, to sign a check for him to claim money from the account?
Yeah, just to clarify.
So he should come out and stop pointing an accusing finger to Mr. Peter Obi.
Yeah, just to clarify, you're saying that you found out that Julius Abure was transferring money from Labour Party's official account to his personal account and to, account for his siblings.
Yes. Even his wife's account, yes.
Okay. And also, just to double check with you, I remember in another interview you had granted, you said you weren't a signatory to the account. Correct me if I'm wrong, and that you weren't receiving alerts on the account. Is that correct?
Yes, I was a signatory to the account, but I wasn't receiving alerts. But how I got to know that the party even made huge sums of money was when he came to my house with an audited report, wanted me to sign. And I was shocked to have seen such amount of money. And as at that time, the party was going to have an election in Imo State, in Kogi, and in Bayelsa. We had already gotten about 900 and something million naira. Then plus the 2-point-something billion he came for me to endorse my signature. And I coupled everything, I added everything up, plus the obstacle elections that we had, plus even the Sedo that is about to come. So I put one or two together, and I knew that the party has gotten over 3.5. Even the US tour he made, using the name of the party to go and raise funds for the party. He came back, he didn't remit anything to the party. And this is the same person that is trying to point an accusing finger to Mr. Peter Obi and others. No.
If I hear you correctly, you only found out about this not because you were receiving alerts on the account, but because he brought to you an audit report and asked you to append your signature to it. Is that correct?
Yes, he brought the audit report, asked me to append my signature. And I began to question him. I began questioning him. And I said, can I even know what is happening? Because as at that time, by my calculation, I already knew that the party got way over 900 and something million naira from the elections.
Okay.
That were about to go in at that time. Then plus the one he came for me to come and append my signature on. And I said, can I know what's happening? Next thing he did, he began, he tried to induce me. He came to my house with a car gift. Wanted to gift me with a house and some cash benefit. I said, no, I want to be that woman that will write my name on gold. Let me even know what has happened.
All right. At the point when you noticed this anomaly in the audit report, you had mentioned how you'd also raised alarms. What were the steps that you took to alert the leadership of the Labour Party about what was going on? And then, we can lead the conversation up onto your suspension.
If you will recall, by the time I came out public to do my public outcry, I had already written letters internally, but unfortunately, internal mechanisms of the parties at that time failed. I wrote letter for over 7 months. In fact, even before I began writing letters, it was looking like my word against the Abures. And I said, no, if I don't put this into writing, it's going to be like my word against Abure. Hence, I started writing letters. So I wrote letters for over 7 months.
Who are you writing the letter to? Who are you writing this letter? Okay, and were there, did you have any other person in copy?
Of course. Okay. At some point, I had to involve our presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi. He was part of the meeting of our meetings, and he was trying to make Abure do the needful. But Abure sees himself as the boss of his own. He thinks he can do and undo. So he didn't even listen to Mr. Peter Obi. So he was to intervene and make sure that Abure did the right thing. But Abure never last.
All right. It seems to have, to have lost the connection. Okay, right. Welcome back.
Let's go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, I said Mr. Peter Obi tried as at that time to make Abure see reason for him to do the right thing, but Abure thought he sees himself as an emperor, like he can do and undo. He didn't even listen to Mr. Peter Obi. So that's why we are where we are today. Because if he had listened to Mr. Peter Obi, and if he had listened to reasonable voices that was talking to him as at that time, do the needful, I don't think we'll be where we are today. But he never did. Instead, he thought suspending me will silence me. But I'm not that woman to be silenced when I know I'm speaking from a place of authority and truth and strength.
Can you clarify, what the role of Aisha Yusufo and Pastor Eto'o Ighodalo are, with regards to the accounts of the Labour Party?
Yes, Aisha Yusuf and the other person you mentioned, they were in charge of campaign forms, campaign accounts. They were the ones disbursing that, like I thought, they took charge of the account. They were signatories to that account of the campaign. And of course, it is within their power, because if you're running an election, you should have a campaign account. You're supposed to be spending from the party's accounts.
And would you say that, there was subsequent explanation, or did they give account for how the monies were being spent?
I remember when I came public last February, Aisha Yusuf came out to render account, and Abure has not done so. So if Aisha Yusuf has been woman enough to come out to render account, I'm wondering why Abure will not do the same thing if his hands are clean.
All right, I want us to...
what we're supposed to do.
I want us to talk again about, and I need to clarify what your position is. I know you were the former treasurer, you're no longer the treasurer. Are you still a part of the Labour Party? I had seen the report of you being sanctioned or suspended for 6 months. Can you confirm that? And at the point, when that sanction was happening, what were the leaders of the Labour Party doing? Did they approve and endorse of this suspension?
The leaders of the party, like I said, they told Abure to look inward and solve the matter inwardly. But Abure felt he could do and undo. By the way, that suspension carried out on me was null and void, because INEC was never present at that suspension. Because for you to carry anything of such, INEC must be on ground. If you will check till today, you will see that INEC had not removed the names of elected members. If you see there now, if you can use your phone to browse, you will still see my name there, telling you that INEC was not even aware of the purported suspension on me. So the leaders of the party told Abure, do not do what you're about to do. Settle this thing inwardly. Let us listen to this one. Let us even scrutinize the account. But Abure said, no, you have it his way. Of course, he was trying to do the bidding of his paymasters in interest of those sponsoring him. Because he doesn't want the party to progress. He doesn't even care if the party does well or not. All he cares was trying to apply power and enrich himself.
One of the people that we've spoken about concerning these issues is Abayemi Arabambi. We spoke with him yesterday, and of course, he still has, similar allegations against Peter Obi and Aisha Yusufu and Pastor Itua Ighodalo. He claims that, about maybe 1.4 billion naira, I believe, that was meant to be used to pay Labour Party delegates during the elections were allegedly diverted by these persons. And that's the reason, the Labour Party didn't have proper delegates and didn't have people to defend their case during the tribunal. Do you know anything about this? Were Labour Party delegates properly paid? Is this one of the reasons that the Labour Party also couldn't push its case in court, according to Arabambi?
I think you should have asked Arabambi where he got his narrative from. Does he have any proof? Was he even part of the said accounts? He wasn't part of the said accounts. I don't know where he's getting his narrative from. You should have asked him where he's getting his narrative from. So I don't know. I don't want to join issues with what I am not too deep-rooted into. You should have asked him to get his proofs.
Okay, so I want us to also quickly go back to what you had said earlier, when you said INEC still had you documented as the official treasurer because they were not aware of the suspension that had happened. Are you still recognized by INEC as the treasurer of the party?
As it stands now, the Labour Party has no structure. We don't have any structure from the ward, to the local government, to the state, down to the national. Yeah, and again, the reason why INEC still has our name on its website, on our website, is because if INEC should remove every name on the website, that means the party is not in existence. That's why you still have our names there. We are the last known leadership of Labour Party. And I'm sure everybody in Nigeria is aware that there was a gathering in Umuahia over the weekend, last week, to put in place a committee that will see that the party does not go into extinction, because the party cannot function without a known leadership. If you watch again, sometimes last month, Abure was at INEC to attend an INEC program, but because INEC does not recognize him again as the chairman of the Labour Party, he was shown an exit door. Again, there were programs organized for political parties. Abure was not invited, Labour Party was not invited, and a party cannot grow like that. We have to forge ahead. That was why you saw leaders of the party, persons of Dr. Alex Chomoti, the governor of Abure State, His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi, the VP, our senators, our stakeholders, the TUC rep members came together because the party must not be allowed to die. That was why they did what we call an extensive delegate and stakeholders resolution meeting, where we will have the likes of Senator Usman Nenadi, Darlington also a senator, and others to fill in the gap, because there shouldn't be vacuum of anything. Fill in the gap for a period of 90 to 120 to 180 days. But their job is so simple. They're supposed to do what Congress is, from what Congress is, local government election, and Congress to state Congress, and down to national convention.
Right. Can you help us understand what the current reality, I mean, up until now, with the Labour Party has been saying the past 1-2 months, and you've already started that conversation, because it feels like there are multiple people vying for leadership. On the one hand, there's Julius Abure, who thinks that he's the leader. There's Callisto Okafor, who thinks that he's the leader. There's now this 29-member committee led by Senator Nenadi Usman, who have been appointed at the stakeholders meeting, even though that has been criticized by Julius Abure. So when the Labour Party has meetings, is it that there are multiple meetings in different factions that are happening, you know, and where would you say that the majority of the supporters or the members of the party are leaning towards?
Okay, anybody can claim to be anything, so long as it suits them. They can claim to be anything. But if you watched what happened in Abure State, you saw the caliber of people there, the men that were there, the women. What Abure had in the party, at the party secretariat 2 days back, I learned he had his birthday party. And I'm wondering why Abure should take his birthday party to the office. Even as popular as he thought he was, he could not even attract a single reps member. And no senator was there. No governor, the governor was not even there. So what you have in Uma here, I want to refer to it to say and to tell the whole world that the party has just kick-started into the right direction of fixing all the mess that Abure himself has created as cause. So the right and authentic leadership of the Labour Party lies within these men and women that I mentioned, that's ably led by Senator Usman Nenadi. So anybody can claim to be whatever they want to claim.
You know, my question, you know, my last question would be back to the campaign funds. You know, can you share some clarity on how funds were mostly generated for the campaign? Did they come in through donations? You know, or was Labour Party able to generate its own funds?
You know, when I came out public, I never said that the campaign funds were missing. I was specific, talked about the Labour Party fund. And if you will also recall, Aisha Yusuf and others have also come out to say how this money were disbursed, generated, and a whole lot of issues that they raised. And I also had to listen to Aisha Yusuf's this thing yesterday, part of it, where she was able to also give insight of what we never even knew that happened. She also was able to give a clear record of what had happened. So I want to say that I have never at any point in time said that campaign funds were missing. I was specific, and that's why I want to insist and stand on my ground to maintain that the Labour Party fund were misappropriated. I don't want to speak on the issue of campaign funds. I never said anything about campaign funds missing.
Not aware of the 1,000 naira donation that Aisha Yusufu talked about, saying that Julius Abure had asked people to donate 1,000 naira to an account that he created to be able to be a part of, you know, have a voice in the Labour Party. Are you aware or not of that account or of that fund?
I am aware of that account. In fact, if you also recall, there was a time I actually made a video soliciting for funds. The people should donate their 1,000. But that was part of what formed my anger, like my basis of why I went public, because at some point I thought that we owe it to a large number of persons, of Nigerians, to tell them what has happened with the money donated to the party. And I saw Abure we owe it to Nigerians to tell them what has happened to the money, because I made a video soliciting for funds, and Abure said no. So I'm aware of that account. I am aware of that account, and Abure has refused for us to tell Nigerians what their money was used for.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, I think we're going to have further conversations on this. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. And as things develop, we would like to speak with you again.
And we should probably put out an open invitation to Julius Abure to come and speak on the show as well. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much, and have a peaceful day.
You as well.
All right. Well, moving on, the former Vice President and 2023 presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Atiku Abubakar, has condemned the President Bola Tinubu-led administration for allegedly using intimidation tactics against perceived opponents. In a post on his Facebook page on Tuesday, Atiku accused the administration of surpassing the oppressive control of even the harshest days of military dictatorship.
This, he said, in response to the arrest of National Labour Congress President Joe Ajaero. The former vice president urged the government and security agencies to redirect their efforts towards addressing the perpetrators of violence rather than intimidating innocent citizens. Atiku's statement echoes the opinion of many Nigerians with growing concerns about these administration's human rights record and its handling of opposition voices. This morning, we're joined by human rights lawyer Sonny Ekwowusi. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. All right. Let's start the conversation with your analysis of the current administration's respect for the rule of law and for human rights, especially, if we go very recently to the NBA conference, the president, represented by the vice president, talked about upholding the rule of law, within, I can't remember the exact words, but he talked about upholding the rule of law. So from your analysis so far, would you say that the current administration has been one that has indeed upheld the rule of law and has upheld fundamental human rights?
Well, it's not from my own point of view, and also it is not from...
Struggling with the connection there, but I think we would do what we can to fix that. Sonny Ekwowusi, of course, joining us to discuss the human rights record and respect for democratic norms, by the current administration, and mostly in relation to the criticism from Atiku Abubakar, the former vice president, towards the arrest of Joe Ajaero, the NLC president. If you remember, he was arrested and eventually released on Monday night, I believe. And since then, the criticism for his arrest has continued to pour in from different parts of the country, and of course, including human rights groups and the like. So
very true. Now, I was still joined by a human rights lawyer. Thank you very much for joining us. And I just want to quickly reiterate the question that I asked earlier. At the last NBA conference, President Bola Tinubu, through his vice president, said that he has vowed to keep promoting the rule of law, adhere to the principle of separation of powers, and tolerate dissenting views within the ambit of the laws of Nigeria. So far, in the past, since the current administration got into power, would you say that they have kept to these promises?
Obviously, they have not kept any promise. It's something that's seen by every Nigerian. People are worried that the Bola Tinubu administration has descended into an oppressive, because it has become an oppressive, intolerant government, arresting oppositions, and then clamping on journalists, and also taking dictatorial decisions. We also saw how, before we were debating the presidential jet, the president has already acquired the presidential jet. We also see how the amount of stealing going on in this government, and it's something that is amazing. So it's not from my own point of view. It's not even from Atiku's point of view. The rule of law right now, as we speak, is in shambles. We have a torment of oppression, a torment of anarchy, a torment of irresponsibility. This is a very sad one, because this is happening at a time when many Nigerians are hungry. If you go to the forest station, you see long queues all over. There's no food in the country. People are hungry. People are tired. And then a government that ought to be responsible to ensure that the economy recovers is promoting is camping on opposition. It's arresting people, although Ajaero has been released. But even the arrest in the first place ought not to have happened. Why was he arrested? Because we have a government that has become a tyrant. We have a government that is intolerant of opposition. And this is something that is very, very serious because many Nigerians are dying, many Nigerians are out of job. And if this is not restored, if sanity is not restored, we are going to be in trouble in this country. So we are calling on everyone, we are calling on the government and all those who are very much in touch with the government to ask the government to sit up, to stop harassing the opposition. We also heard that Serap has been arrested. The Serap office was attacked. They went there and they were threatening to arrest members of Serap, the NGO, which has been in the forefront of promoting integrity in the country. So we are disturbed about what is happening in Nigeria at the moment. And if sanity is not restored, we are going to be in trouble. Don't forget that in the last 8 years, we witnessed the government of Maiduguri. That government was also intolerant of opposition. That government was also irresponsible. And right now, we have a continuation of APC, and we are expressing the same thing. The Tinubu administration doesn't care about anything. Democracy ought to be government of the people, by the people, and for the people. But this democracy is not for the people. It is for the elites. Over there in Abuja, they are doing their own things. And don't forget that in democracy, we ought to have the principles of separation of power and the principle of check and balances. It is not working in this government because the National Assembly, which ought to be checking and balancing the executive, they are not doing so. They are working in they have conspired with the executive to wreck this country. And this is something that is very, very
another
very
thing that I want to find out.
We are supposed to be practicing democracy, but what we are seeing is it's almost like a military rule. A military rule where you have no say, where the people cannot say anything, where oppositions are, there is a complete calm down on opposition. So this is something that is worrying. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I just want to know, right, from your perspective, do you, because I've always had this feeling that a lot of these things aren't necessarily done on the orders of Mr. President, but we seem to have a system where security agencies feel it is their responsibility to protect those in power. So President Tinubu wouldn't necessarily have to give any orders, for the Serap office to be raided or for opposition figures to be harassed in any way, shape, or form. But our security agencies just feel it is their responsibility to ensure that they protect the seat of power. So do you think that's the situation, or is President Tinubu himself meant to be held responsible for the way things have turned?
Of course, the DSS or SSS is an arm of the presidency. That's your fortunate thing. So any action taken by the SSS or DSS or whatever they are called, the presidency knows about it. So one can say, with all sense of responsibility, that the action of this DSS and also emanate from the presidency. They cannot go and, harass Serap or arrest Ajaero or harass journalists without the consent of the presidency, because DSS is controlled by the presidency. It is obvious. So their action could be associated with the action of the presidency, and that is a very sad one because it is. We have seen this operation, we have seen this harassment, we have seen this clampdown on journalists, the fourth estate of the realm, which is supposed to be respected. And in democracy, the voice of the people ought to be heard. In democracy, presidential democracy, the sovereigns are the people. Power belongs to the people. But in this government, we're not seeing power being brought to the people. We are seeing dictatorship from the top, from the presidency. So whatever actions that the SS or SS is taking emanates from the presidency. It's very, very, very unfortunate. They can't act without being authorized by the presidency. And so all these things are the presidency knows about it, and they have consented to this. Like I said, this is very worrisome. Nigerians are urged to sit up. And all the friends of the government should urge the government to stop harassing the people, to stop arresting people, to stop all this intimidation of opposition and all that. It's not going to go well. Every Nigerian is tired. If you go to the social media, you see comments of the people.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying that it's not just my perspective or article's perspective. It is the perspective of all Nigerians, even social media.
There's expected to be a social media response, and of course Nigerians would react to the way that these things are interpreted. But just like on the Vanguard this morning, it says here from the federal government on Joe Ajaero, nobody is above the law. And so if they truly have a case against Joe Ajaero, maybe because they suspect that he has committed some crimes that are, that he needs to answer for, shouldn't the federal government invite him?
Obviously they should invite him. We're not saying that they should not, but the manner in which they went about doing that, it happens at the time that Ajaero was about to travel out of the country to attend a Labour Party function abroad. What we are saying that the timing of this interrogation is not proper. If they have anything against him, the proper thing to do is to do your investigation and charge him to court. That's what the Constitution says, that if you suspect somebody to have committed a crime, what you do is you don't even need to invite him, not even to harass him, is to slam a charge against him, take him to court and display the charges. In this case, they are saying that he's sponsoring terrorism and all that. That is far-fetched. His arrest. I don't hold brief for Ajaero. I don't hold brief for NLC, but all Nigerians can see clearly that this man is a man that is asking for implementation of the minimum wage. Is asking that workers should be treated, properly, and is not. His interrogation or arrest is not unconnected with his effort to ensure that minimum wage is paid and all that. And so these are all linked. It's not that, such a man that you are saying that is committed, terrorism, or that he finances terrorist activities. How? Okay? Now, if you think so, why not charge him to court? Okay? Charge him to court. Why all this harassment? Remember that this is not the first time. There was a time that he was beaten up. There was a time that he was, this is not proper. If you think he has committed something, charge him to court, We have this case again so that he can defend himself. And that is what the democratic government, that's what ought to happen, that if you suspect that somebody has committed a crime, charge him to court. But all this subtle harassment and this is not done yet. They say they are still going to invite him. They are not even done. What they are ought to do is to carry out their investigations, and if there's anything that the man has done, you suspect that has done, charge him to court. But all this comment, picking him here and there, invite him or not invite him, does not augur well for Labour. It does not augur well. Don't forget that Labour is the people, really, actually, when you talk about Ajaero, it's not just the NLC.
I'd like to ask for some clarity regarding the proper procedure for arrest, and I'm asking because of what you have just said, that if they have any matter against Joe Ajaero, they shouldn't have just picked him the way that they picked him up at the airport. They should have taken him to court if they had any issues against him. And I'm asking this because we've seen in several other cases, for example, PDOM Nigeria, Isaac Bristol, who was arrested in his hotel room on the 5th of August, and now is being charged with leakage of government documents or classified documents, and many other charges that have been leveled against him. And the police have said they will do their investigation. Is the proper procedure to arrest and then do investigation, or to thoroughly complete your investigation before you arrest and then charge them to court? What is the proper procedure?
The proper procedure is to do your investigation. I'm a lawyer for so many years. I know very well that if you don't start all this harassment, what you do is that you do your proper investigation. You don't even need to invite the person. All this invitation to SSS or whatever, it's an intimidation. They're trying to cow the labor. They're trying to cow the people. They are trying to show that you are a dictatorial government and that you are more or less above the law. What any serious government would do if you suspect that somebody has done something is to carry out your investigation and then charge him to court. Why do you have to invite him? That's the essence of investigation, is that, look, you carry out your investigation and all that. The issue of intimidation, don't forget that once somebody is invited, it's already flashed in the media, which means you have become what is called a media trial. Trial has started, They're saying that this guy is suspected and so and so. That is not proper. Do your investigation. If you have your charges already, you charge him to court. The only way that the public knows that somebody, the fellow is being suspected is when he's charged to court. It's not start saying, look, we're inviting you, we're also going to invite you next tomorrow or whatever. No, it's not done. So the issue of hiding somebody in the media is already a trial, It's already it's already psychologically you are abusing the person. You're also insulting the person because you are saying that, okay, fine, this is what we think that you have done. We are going to try you for that. Carry out your investigation. You can carry out the investigation, and there is need to do that. The only thing you can do is that, okay, do your investigation. The man does not travel. Okay, you can slightly do that, avoiding him from from traveling. But you don't have to wait until he has gone to the airport and then you have to arrest him. You don't do that because you are doing a kind of media trial. You're already trying him, telling the public this man is so and so. It's not the proper way to do it. Do your proper investigations and all that. And then when you have anything, then you have to charge into court. And then you apply for bail. It's a bailable offense. Okay? And if it's a bailable offense, you grant him bail, and then the man continues the trial. But what happens here is that what happens in this country is kind of intimidation, a kind of, placing of muscles that, look, we can do anything to you and all that and all that. It is not proper, okay? This man was trying to attend the function abroad, You are stopping from attending the function, you have harassed him, okay, you have released him now. Okay, what have you found out from arresting him? What have you achieved? Nothing. They are saying that they're going to call him again. No! Carry out the investigation, and then if there's anything, charge it to court.
All right, kindly hold on. I would like before we go that you share your thoughts on. Yeah, kindly hold on, please. Kindly hold on, because we're, But before we go, can you quickly share your thoughts on the End Bad Governance protesters? Amnesty International has continued to call for the release of these persons who have also been charged with treason, amongst other things. Yeah. Is this pretty much the same thing that you started the conversation speaking about? The approach of the President Tinubu administration towards criticism.
This is a sad one. This is a very sad one. Arresting this End Bad Governance protesters, who many of them are even minors. Why do you have to arrest them? Before this protest, the government came out to say that they have approved, they have given them permission to do the protest, carry the protest and everything. Lagos State government also came out to say that, look, you carry out the protest, except that they should do it in designated places so that they do not cause violence in town or destroy public property. And then it was on this basis that they went out protesting, okay? Now, after this protesting, you have clamped down on them, arrested them, and you have refused to charge them to court. You are detaining them against the constitution, provisions of the constitution, that you can't detain somebody for a certain number of days. You don't have the charges, you grant the person bail. Because the issue of terrorism is very far-fetched. We know that it's a trump-up charge. Why should you slam terrorism on young people who have gone out to protest, which is a constitutional right? Right of protest is a constitutional right guaranteed in our constitution. So why do you have arrested them? They're up to 1,000 who are in detention as we speak. Many of them are minors, okay? Holding them over what? Over because they came out to protest. That's why we are saying that this government has, unfortunately sloshed into dictatorship, into harassment of opposition, especially the harassment of young people who came out to protest, And you're not trying them, you put them in detention and all that. For how many days now? Okay, you're not granting them bail, you are not releasing them, and this is something that is it's in bad taste. It doesn't all go well for Nigeria. It has dragged the image of this government to the muds, Keeping these peaceful protesters, keeping them in detention, and you are the one that granted them permission to protest in the first place. After the protest, you have arrested them, or during the protest, you have arrested them, kept them in detention, you have neither granted them bail, nor taking them to court, and they are in detention. And we heard that some of them are being maltreated. Why all this? What the government is trying to do, they're trying to discourage other people for protesting. If you can arrest these people, you don't grant them bail, and they don't charge them to court. You are saying that other young people who might come out to protest, you are going to do the same thing to them. It is something that is wrong, and it is unacceptable. The people should be granted bail because they are bailable of offense, and they should not be charged. They should not be a trump-up charge. What is terrorism? What is traceable felony? For people who have gone out to carry out peaceful protests, you want to slap them with terrorism and all that.
We're still following up with these stories. I mean, we're still following. There's a number of them beyond the NBAD governance protesters. There's Speedom Nigeria, who is still remanded in prison, and there's David Hundain, who's been declared wanted. He's been declared wanted by the Nigerian police. And I'm sure that there are more layers to this conversation that we can have on another day. Sonny Ekwowusi, thank you very much for your time with us this morning.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
All right, have a wonderful day. All right. And now let's bring you a recap of the conversations we've had this morning and prepare your mind for the conversations still to come this morning on Breakfast Central. Labour Party Yesufu refutes Abure's accusations. We're joined by Oluchi Okpara, the former treasurer, to explain what has been going on in the party. Atiku slams Tinubu's rule as worse than military regime. We're joined by lawyer Sonny Ekwowusi to talk about this as well. IDPs take refuge in Sabon Benin. Sokoto insecurity is one of the stories that have been top of the mind. We'll still be talking about this and bringing you more updates. Now let's share what's coming up next.
Coming up next, severe flooding hits Maiduguri following Alo Dam collapse. The newspaper front page is also coming your way this morning. And also we'll be asking which way Nigeria, as always.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Now let's see what the big stories making the headlines today are. And joining us is public affairs analyst Shehu of Borno. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, Oliver.
How have you been faring? Have you been holding up?
I bought fuel just 2 days ago.
How much?
Reality, 870.
You're lucky. I bought for 925.
Yeah, there's actually, okay, no, 855 NNPC after 2.5 hours.
Oh my days.
So if I need to put the financial aspect of the 2.5 hours on the queue, I'm sure I can always tell you it's about 1,500 per liter. Because those 2.5 hours productive time was actually a waste, if you ask me.
I mean, I think this is a story that many can relate to across board. It's not looking good. It's been like every day, one bad story or the other. We're going to take these stories now, and also to remind you that you can call to react to any of the stories. Remember to turn down the volume of your TV set or whatever device you're using to stream before you call. We're starting off with the Punch newspaper. The Punch newspaper, big story. Borno Dam collapse. Federal government opens IDP camps as flood submerges 70% of Maiduguri. Inmates escape, thousands displaced. Tinubu National Assembly, governors pledge aid as NEMA begins evacuation. Why NNPC may not lift Dangote petrol on Sunday, fuel importers fear domestic production, Refiners Association say. Southwest governors to spend 266 billion naira on airport projects. INEC ready for free fair poll, Yakubu declares. I think that's a story that we'll probably start with. Obi canvasses votes for Akpata in Benin. Let's head over to the next paper.
All right. Away from the Punch newspapers, the Daily Trust newspaper comes up next. It says over 200,000 displaced, children missing in Maiduguri, corpses float as cemetery is washed away, houses, Shehu's Palace and hospital submerged, crocodiles and snakes escape into communities. Shettima consoles victims as Zulum opens or reopens IDP camps. Interesting. Israel kills 248 Palestinians in safe zones as rights group condemns siege. Nigeria's crude oil production rose to 1.352 million barrels in August, says OPEC. Ajaero's arrest, violation of trade union freedom, says UKTUC. Defense headquarters says 125,517 terrorists and family members surrendered, while of course, we still have Bola Tinubu holding sway in parts of Zamfara State. Retired judge charged with assaulting neighbor's wife. Last story, 5 bandits killed, corpses dumped in FCT community. Those are the big stories on the Daily Trust this morning.
Right, let's head to our next paper, which is the Vanguard newspaper. It says, Ajaero, nobody is above the law, says federal government. In deepening its capital market, Nigeria raises over $900 million, 5-year inaugural domestic FGN US dollar bond. Not a lot of stories going in. Bandit leader Bola Tinubu, others will soon be captured according to CDS. Let's quickly go back to the first paper we took this morning and start the conversation with INEC ready for free, fair poll, Yakubu declares. Do you believe, Mr. Okwade?
They will always tell you there has been free and fair election. And if you are not comfortable with it, you know the slogan, go to court. So these are the normal things we've always been hearing from INEC, and we know so much flaws that surrounded the last election, both at the gubernatorial level and the presidential level, which we're still struggling to manage with. It's either the device is really not out there to function the way it should be, or some people are just out there. You still see people buying votes and all those things coming up. People hijacking boxes on that particular day, even when you claim that you are actually using device, which is beavers, to actually carry out some of those things. But how much confidence do people have? You see, we've said it down until we go into full electronic way of actually carrying out this, which we know our current infrastructure cannot sustain. Maybe you can give these words because it's just a state out of several. We might see the result of it, but be rest assured that after this election, there will be a lot of litigation against INEC and a lot of people because the trust deficit and the proper way of doing some of those things are not just out there.
Yeah, but I mean, should Mahmoud Yakubus even still be talking about
free and fair
elections or even elections?
Talking about elections at all, yeah.
Seeing how the 2023 elections turned out.
You and I cannot influence that. The people that actually appoint are the people at the helm of affair, and they appoint whosoever they feel actually is qualified to do the job. Is it only INEC chairman you want to put? There are several people who are actually at the place of position today, which we believe shouldn't be. There are several of them that have one allegation against them that we feel that they should not even be at a position of authority. But they are out there today. So it's not for you and I to call out the INEC chairman, whether he should be there or not, because we don't influence the appointment of such people. Yeah. All we all see is that this person, because if you ask me the question, why will the group managing director of NNPCL, with every of the failures that we've seen across board, still be maintaining position? So if that which affect every individual is not being touched, this is a man that for 80 years promised that we're going to have a refinery functioning until today. None of that has happened. We have suddenly, we have increased fuel price from one place to another as we both buy as high as 1,000 naira, and nothing is still happening to him. And we are now talking of, so we've seen, sketches of some of those people that we've considered to be failures, still in place of authority, still in place of leadership. And because you and I don't have power, we can only speak, we can only talk, but we can't influence the appointment in any way. All
right, before we come to the big story, I also want us to talk about NNPC. We're seeing here why NNPC may not lift Dangote petrol on Sunday. You are laughing. It's on the Punch newspaper. That's one of the stories at the top left, I believe, yes.
Yeah, well, I have not read the details of that story, but we know that this country is just part of what I keep saying, excuses here and there. Don't forget, Dangote was telling us he was waiting for NNPCL for them to agree on their contract or what they are going to sell. And some of us have asked the question, can we come out with the actual cost of what it looks like, what you intend to sell? Without you coming to NNPCL. NNPCL is no longer a government agency from what the last we read about it. They are a private company like every other areas, which should not be the major controlling factor that determines all that we do. Look at the series. Now we are hearing that it might be as high as 1,300, even from Dangote. So
I'm seeing the reports here. I looked into the paper. It's saying that they have stated that terms and conditions required for the deal had not been agreed on, stressing that the National Oil Company may not lift any petrol from Dangote on the announced date. Remember, they had announced that they would start to lift from the 15th. Yeah. So I think there's also, they said there's no paperwork that has been signed by both parties for the lifting of the petrol.
Yeah, these are things that, as at the time, we all saw, because they were actually monitoring the activities of what was going on with Dangote. We expected that they should have been proactive to carry out certain things. To say, okay, once production starts, these are areas that will be going, because what are the major things that you are looking into it? You are actually giving him crude in Naira, which is form part of his input, he should have been able to agree that this is what our selling price will be. Carry out your negotiation. And we've said it, why must it be NNPC that will buy directly only from Dangote? Can't we open up the business for the independent oil marketers to go into that area? Because at this point, they are no longer relying on foreign exchange to buy from Dangote. It's going to be naira to naira. So bring out your price. Let's sell at the price that you feel that you want to sell, and let's buy. It shouldn't be sole responsibility of NNPCL. We have the PPMR, the price regulators for the oil and gas. Let them come, negotiate with him, and this is the price that we feel that you can sell this product to every man. It shouldn't be, I feel that it shouldn't be directly sold to NNPC. Open up the business. At this point, why we gave that sole right of importing fuel to NNPC is because of the foreign exchange. They have access to it and government is giving them concession. But this, we are not buying with foreign exchange. It's naira. So open it up for other independent marketers, because one thing we know is that demand and supply. If he's selling, and all of us, you see some people buying at that rate and maybe waiting for the turnover on that particular thing and still sell at something reduced, you know, in price. So you see the competitiveness in that particular thing compared to leaving it in the hands of NNPC determining the price when we have other independent marketers to roll those things to.
It's also just, you know, the possibility of having a fully deregulated market, you know, that they continue to speak on, you know, but never really put into
practice. Yeah.
We've said this for so long, you know, and it just never has gotten there. I want us to talk about the humanitarian crisis that, of course, is starting in Borno State now. The governor, of course, you know, has, I believe, again, ordered the reopening of IDP camps. In 2023, Borno State was making attempts to close some of its IDP camps. It says here, you know, on a report that Borno had 62 formal and 158 informal IDP camps, which hosted about 874,000 people across 17 local government areas. But now with the floods, federal government opens IDP camps as flood submerges 70% of Maiduguri. Inmates escape, thousands displaced. Tinubu National Assembly governors pledge aid as never begins evacuation. It's a very pathetic situation.
A very pathetic one, and my heart goes to the people that are in that particular area. But it speaks to some of the ills that we've been talking about as far as this country is concerned. The collapse of that dam, it's not just today. It's lack of the maintenance culture on the government asset that we've seen. If you ask those that are in charge now, the question you hear is that funds were not actually released for them to maintain that particular asset, and that was actually what led to this. And innocent people who knows nothing about what is actually happening are paying for it. Majority of the people who manages that thing, if you ask them, should be on their way out of Maiduguri. In fact, before it happening, they would have jet out if they are still in the country, not out of the country. Is to tell you that we've said it times with that number that until we have this consequential management where you punish people for wrongdoing, this that has happened will come, people will suffer it, and no head will roll. Nobody will be punished for it. What you're actually saying is encouraging people to carry out, this unpatriotic act by encouraging corruption. People should be dealt with, not just evacuating people, putting them back to IDP. You can imagine inmates have escaped. So you have more people in the society, and you say you want to curb insecurity.
Wild animals.
Wild animals are out there. People are losing their lives. When I read the dailies, I was trying to put the calculation together. Are we saying that the population of people in Maiduguri is just 1 million? When you say 70% of areas have actually been submerged, and only 500,000 people are actually being displaced, that figure does not add up. So it does not add up. So it's to tell you that we expect that the government has actually given swift action to say, let's evacuate the people from the area and move them to IDP where they can actually have those things. But you can imagine the negligence on the part of those people that allowed the collapse of that dam, and without any action being carried out on them. More of it you see will definitely happen.
Yeah, and I've seen people say that, you might call it a natural disaster, but, it's actually government failure.
This is not natural disaster. Yeah. It's natural. It's government failure. Failure on the part of individuals that are supposed to manage things, and it's costing so much. You discover that businesses in that area will not be there. Food scarcity will definitely increase. A lot of people that, through this hardship, have just squeezed out to buy certain things, When there is flood, you don't think about those things that you have in your house. You talked about your survival, at least to escape from that particular area. This is really uncalled for and quite disheartening.
All right, let's move to the Guardian newspaper. On the front page, we have there 10,000 new recruits for deployment, February 2025, according to the police. Is this something that you will applaud the police for, and do you think that this will impact positively the quality of our policing?
Yeah, well, it's a good thing if we are recruiting more police, but the recruitment process is just my worries. What is the motive of people going into this particular agency? Some are out there to actually exert and oppress people. Some don't have the right motive. I speak to this because we have some interesting set of personnel in that particular space that needs to be weeded out. If you've been out of this country and you see police officer engaged you, in fact, you know the word being used by police to say police is your friend, that it's really a valid one. But here where you see a lot of those people in that personnel just out to oppress you, ask questions, people look down on you, no courtesy, except maybe for the senior ones who are actually there. I think the recruitment process needs to be checked, if you ask me. And there are ways that you command respect. A lot of them needs to have this reorientation. We should see our police and be proud of them. The way and manner, so many of them just get off the road. You get scared that are these the same set of people that are actually protecting us. So recruiting 10,000 people is a welcome idea, but the recruitment process needs to be checked, at least to have the right set of people who have the passion for policing and not just out there on the level of extorting and the level of oppressing people. Because when you are going to be carrying ammunition, yes. And when your motive is just to say, yes, I'm here now to come and see how I can oppress and people know I'm right, that's a wrong notion.
I think it's not even just recruitment. I think the onboarding process, the training that is currently available, you know, how well are these people going to be trained? And there's also sometimes feeling of resentment that those who are there, you know, in employment or in organizations, for example, where they don't feel like they're earning enough and they're seeing more people being employed. So it's like, you're not paying me enough, but you're employing more people. So that means you have to really just So I'm hoping that there's a total overhaul, you know, of the Nigerian police force. You want to say something? Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, it really just says that, you know, the police force itself, you know, has a lot of issues, you know, and instead of putting in deliberate steps to fix those issues, we're recruiting more people. You know, we haven't fixed the funding for the police. We haven't fixed, you know, the proper investment in police, restructuring of the police. But we're, you know, bringing 10,000 more people to do the same thing.
But Osag, if you ask me, if you see the senior cadre police, you want to join the police force?
No.
No,
if you see the senior police, the senior cadre, you want to join the police force?
Well, I don't know.
I've seen a lot of those senior cadre. I feel proper. That's why I said this 10,000. You might not even, if this 10,000 is actually to be actualized, maybe you have a little less than 1,000 to be senior. And the major issue that we have, concentrate more on the lower cadre that you have on the road and on the street. So because I have some of them as friends, and they will tell you that if you are on the road and you see the lower cadre people challenge you, look for the most senior.
I think the summary of it all would be that there's a total overhaul that needs to be done.
Of course, not just recruitment.
10,000 more people. We need to be sure that the quality of what we have right now, you know, has to be upgraded in terms of them being adequately paid properly, ensuring that they're getting the right training. If not, we're going to import new set of people to you know, continue an old terrible culture. And more importantly, you know, also we need to, there are lots of, we are on the police, yes, but there are a number of people who, VPs and, you know, VIPs who
that have police. We actually concentrate
exactly.
Some
so we
of
need to, those are the areas we need to just tie loose ends. But anyway, thank you so much, Shehu Okwade, for joining us for breakfast, for the newspaper review for Breakfast Central.
Yeah, always a pleasure to start the midweek with you.
All right, let's now go to Borno State. We have Umaru Kirawa joining us to give us live feed from what's going on over there. He's in one of the IDP camps currently in Borno State, Maiduguri. Umaru, good morning.
Very good morning.
Great to have you join us. Give us, you know, updates on what's going on in Borno State this morning. You know, has the flooding subsided?
You know, it's an unfortunate incident that happened. Hello?
Go ahead.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Yes, I said it's an unfortunate incident that happened it's an unfortunate incident that happened yesterday, and it has displaced a lot of people. The government official says over 200,000 people, and a lot of people. But the good side of it is that the government has pushed most of these people to IDP camp, who are at the Bakassi IDP camp, where a lot of IDPs have been put there, and the government is providing cash assistance to them, in addition to giving them hope that they will be returned back to their homes. But I have one of the senators representing Borno North is here with me, who will tell us more with regard to what the government is doing to address some of the needs of the people at the IDP camp. So what do you have to tell us with regard to the chief whip of the Senate?
Okay, thank you very much. Our governor, our indefatigable governor, Professor Ogaana, is used to giving support and giving support in such situations. As a result of the displacement by the Boko Haram insurgency, especially in Borno North, the government has continuously supported the IDPs, palliatives, but both the support of food and cash support. And mutatis mutandis, as a result of this unfortunate flood incident in Maiduguri, the governor has come out to support each of the people that were displaced as a result of this flood with 10,000 naira cash, in addition to food support that they are going to be given tomorrow. So we sincerely commend the governor for these proactive steps that he has taken by way of supporting the people that were displaced as a result of the flood disaster, by not only feeding them in the various IDP camps, by giving them 10,000 cash support, in addition to giving them
confirm how many people we're speaking about here,
so that they can go back to their respective homes when the flood waters recede.
Okay, thank you. The vice president was here yesterday, and you are all with him. What are those things that
the vice president was here yesterday, together with the DG NEMA and the DG the Federal Commissioner Refugees Commission. And through those agencies, the federal government is also going to extend support to the internally displaced people. Already 10,000 bags of rice is on its way to Maiduguri, with a view to supporting the IDPs by way of cash support. So the federal government has also assured that necessary measures will be taken with a view to averting future disasters of similar nature. Because this disaster was exacerbated as a result of climate change that comes with heavy downfall, and also at the same time the discharge of water from various dams in Cameroon. All this is exacerbated the present flood situation, as well as also the fact that people are built on waterways, thereby obstructing the free flow of the water. So these are what brought out the flood, and the federal government has
Umaru, can you hear us clearly?
Vice President, on the instruction of Mr. President, that all the support will be given
Umaru,
to the people through NEMA and
quickly interject.
Refugees Commission, as I told me earlier on. Already take up.
Umaru, if you can quickly interject, kindly help ask him how many people, because I heard him say that the state government was given 10,000 naira each to persons who were affected by the flooding, and of course are currently in IDP camps. So can he share with us, an idea of how many people we're speaking about here who are going to be getting this 10,000 naira?
So, Chief Whip, what people are saying is that you people provided 10,000 naira to each of the displaced victims of the flood. What are the figures of the?
Well, from our own, right now a committee has been set up with a view to assessing the extent of the damage. But from the briefing we have gotten from the governor, at least not less than 1 million people have been affected by these floods. And right now we are going around the IDP camps giving them the cash support until when we go around the whole of the IDP camps before we tell you the exact amount of people that are now residing in the IDP camp. But the governor has said that at least not 1 million people have been affected by this flood disaster.
Okay, in addition to this, the Shehu of Borno made an emphatic appeal to the federal government with regard to maybe coming up with a committee to assess the situation, because it's an incident that happened about 30 years ago in 1994. What do you have?
Well, a high part conveyed by the federal Minister of Water Resources is coming today to Maiduguri to assess the extent of the damage, particularly what led to the breakdown of the Lake Anau that brought about the flood, and also taking measures that will avoid future occurrence of such calamity in Maiduguri. So the Federal Minister of Water Resources is coming with a very high-powered team of technical team of his ministry with a view to assessing the dam and also taking measures that will avoid future occurrence of such calamities.
Thank you very much. So this is done in Maiduguri right now, but both natural, there will be a lot of issues, particularly families not meeting their loved ones. But it's the hope and prayers of most of these victims of flood disaster that this thing will be addressed accordingly, and they will meet with their loved ones, and they will be resettled home, hopefully anytime soon.
Tomorrow, Kirawa, thank you very much for that report. Do stay safe and extend our condolences to the people of Borno State who have to deal with this unfortunate incident. All right. Still talking about the story of the devastating flood that has submerged many areas of Maiduguri, leaving thousands of residents displaced and seeking safer places. The collapse of Alao Dam has worsened the situation, with many residents trapped and in need of rescue. President Bola Tinubu has expressed concern over the flood crisis and directed Vice President Kashim Shettima to visit Maiduguri to assess the situation. The president has also ordered the National Emergency Management Authority, or agency NEMA, to provide assistance to flood victims and mobilize federal resources to support the state.
Now, the flood has caused animals to escape from the zoo, the Maiduguri Zoo, with an ostrich and a crocodile found wandering. The zoo's residents are in distress, with about 80% of the animals, particularly carnivores, dead or washed away. The Borno State government has also ordered the closure of public and private schools for 2 weeks. Vice President Kashim Shettima has expressed sympathy for the victims and assured that the president has the nation at heart and will do whatever it takes to salvage the situation. Remember, the vice president is a former governor of Borno State. Now, joining us is the founder, Youth Voyage, Richard Obaka Omahi, of course, will join us after this break. Stay with us. Once again, and of course, again, joining us is the founder, Youth Voyage, Richard Obaka Omar. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Okay. I mean, a really, really sad situation in Borno State. The Director General of the Borno State Emergency Management Agency, Bart Kindo Mohammed, is among those who, has been trapped in the flood. He said the agency is conducting rescue operations and distributing sandbags in Maiduguri. But of course, it's once again a really, really sad situation. Let's get your views, first of all, on the current situation in Borno State. The last time that, this problem happened was in 1994. There have been criticism as to whether the Alao Dam could have been rehabilitated over these years and prevented such, a disaster from happening. Do you share similar thoughts?
Sure, I do, because actually, from my findings, I discovered that it even overflowed in 2012. And the current damage was as a result of a structural breakdown. So I believe if there was this attitude of maintenance culture on the dam infrastructure, we shouldn't have been here with this sad situation. Because if you can see, the circumstance of the residents in Borno State is so pathetic, and Al Jazeera was carrying it at over 500,000. And over 239,000 people have been displaced in MMC and Bahama local government. So you see, it's so pathetic to put people in this kind of situation, coupled with the economic situation. Now, it's not only about the flooding. Now we can even see beyond the flooding, where the issues around climate change and health will now come in. The issue of waterborne diseases breaking out is not far-fetched. The issue of even vector diseases breaking out is not far-fetched. And you're not talking about PSTD, and you're not talking about insomnia and all these other health issues that will emanate from the residents as a result of the trauma. So this is a very, very pathetic situation, and our dams infrastructure in this country has to be really, really looked at, because coupled with the fact that climate change is a global issue and is on the front burner, the attitude to quick response is one thing, and preparedness is another thing. Are we prepared to tackle such situations when they occur? What is the knowledge strength from the national to the subnational to the state governments and even to the local governments in terms of quick response? Actually, there's a serious gap in terms of building that.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, can we still blame climate change in a situation like this? When we, have admitted that structural damage to the dam and the failure to rehabilitate that dam over time. In 1994, like you mentioned, actually from 1992, 94, and 2012, whenever there's seasonal rainfall, most people expect that the dam would overflow. And so, can we still blame climate change if we know that there's seasonal rainfall that happens every year? And of course, the dam should prevent it from overflowing. Climate change cannot be blamed.
Well, yeah, climate change is a major factor, but in terms of management is another factor. Like, for example, there's what they call flood management system, where the experts understand. Most state governments, some state governments have sent their what they call human resource in water sectors to go study this. Like for Niger State, I know some years back, Niger State sent a team of people to go study flood management. The question is, how many states do send their human resource on such capacity building or equip them with that knowledge of handling such incidents when it occurs? You don't wait for disaster to occur. There's pre-disaster readiness, then the disaster, then post-disaster management. So where do you have strength in managing this? Like, for example, when this occurred, the state, it was only NEMA that we had came to rescue. In other developed countries, you see the human resource or the team from the local government coming, you see the team from the state government coming, then you now see from the national. So you now understand that those countries are ready because all the tiers of government have such teams in place to tackle this circumstance in terms of expertise. And again, in terms of the infrastructural management, there are other solutions that could be that would have been put in place in terms of the overflow of the dam. Because you should, at this time of the rainy season, NIMET should have released the rain pattern formula for the year. And each state government should have expected things to happen like this at this time. So how prepared or how informed are the human resource in charge of this in the states? What is their capacity? So you see, there's a serious gap in terms of preparedness, human resource capacity, and even information. How does the information trickle down? Does NIMET information trickle down to even the local government level? To the local government chairmen within those local government that this dam is situated, appraised, informed? Have they been having pre-meetings, meetings? Has it been part of their discourse? Or is it only when the flood happens? these are the questions that will start emanating from all this. Because from my experience, most of the local government chairmen in Nigeria are not informed about climate change. And these are serious issues that has a lot to do with preparedness and readiness for situations like this.
I think that, when you look at the headlines on the front pages, the numbers are alarming. Daily Trust says over 200,000 displaced, children missing in Maiduguri. There have been reports of corpses floating, cemeteries have been washed, hospitals have been submerged. If you look at the data that the Guardian also provides, it says 386,239 displaced persons. We currently don't have a Minister for Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation. Do you worry about the government's ability to be able to cater to all these people who have been displaced, to the emergencies that we have on our hands right now?
Yeah, it's worrisome because currently we don't have an active minister for humanitarian, but definitely in the government system, you mustn't have a minister for government to function. We have a permanent secretary in place, we have directors in place. So how ready is the Ministry for Humanitarian Affairs ready for pre-disaster situations and the disaster itself? So currently, it's not an excuse for the ministry not to function at this point because they don't have a minister. The ministry is an entire institution, and I expect all relevant departments of that ministry to be working round the clock to ensure that they help in addressing the current situation in Maiduguri. As you can see, the governor already has moved into action. He has opened up and reopened IDP camps in the state, and that is a bold one from him in order to provide the interim support his people need. Then the vice president has touched ground yesterday in Maiduguri. In fact, he was even walking in the flooded waters to go see the Shehu of Borno. I saw that in the media. So you could see that there's this government response, but that aspect is political. But where are the experts on ground? Where are the guys running rescue operations? Where are the choppers? Where are the flying boats? Where are the evacuation processes? I saw Nigerian Army evacuating people in their trucks. Yeah, that is good. But we need to step up. As a country, we need to have more infrastructure in place. Where are the medical teams? Where are they? We need to ensure that we have all this prepared so that when disaster occurs, we don't start planning. We are already ready to address such situations.
Yeah. Talk also, about the IDP situation in Borno State. I saw that in 2023, I think late 2023, the government had made attempts to close a majority of the IDP camps in the state. I think it had only about 5 left, according to that report. Early 2024, also pretty much the same thing. Those were thousands and thousands of people that, had to be in IDP camps. It was criticized, no doubt. But now that we're talking about hundreds of thousands again displaced as a result of this flood, are they headed back to IDP camps? Does the Borno State government have the capacity to even take care of these people and provide them succor?
Well, this is an emergency situation, and in emergencies, all attentions are focused towards that in order to address the situation. So, Borno State has experience in managing IDPs even before now because of the insecurity that they've been battling over the years. So the state government they're even lucky to have IDP camps that they are not even setting them up at this point. So the state government, I'm confident, has the experience to see that they manage it, but this is a situation that has just come up impromptu. But I believe they'll be able to do their best. And even beyond the issue of addressing the IDPs and providing them with shelters for the time being, I believe the government will now start focusing itself on the infrastructural management of the dam, one, then the alternative solutions of diverting flood waters when they come, because the flood water management and flood water, it's a natural resources, I'm sorry to say, because despite the fact that flood causes serious damage, but it can be harnessed as a natural resources, because if you manage the flood water well, you can reuse it for even potable drinking water, address the potable drinking water problems, address irrigation problems, store them, or design a watershed system where you can dam them again, create more dams in those directions, so that when the flood occurs, you can channel the flood water to go and fill up other dams downstream. So these are the circumstances, these are the solutions the government of Maiduguri, Borno State, have to start thinking of as a sustainable measure of avoiding this kind of situation. It's a global phenomenon, but some countries are harnessing flood water in order to serve their purpose. But the issues again will come up. The budgetary and the budget head for such projects are also very, very huge. So do they have the resources to really address this, or do they need to call on international organizations that have those kind of aids in order to help them address such situations?
I'm sure we'll have more updates in the next few days as we keep following up with the story. Thank you so much for your time with us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, let's now bring you Which Way Nigeria.
There have been many reactions to the recent arrest of the NLC President Joe Ajaero. There were, of course, the threats of a nationwide strike action, amongst many other statements made by fellow labor bodies. Also, rights groups strongly condemned his arrest and called it an attack on freedom of speech and his fundamental rights. Now, we also heard about the office of SERAP, which was also stormed by DSS officials in search of SERAP directors, as reported, and the likes. And of course, now, one of the things that I've always said is that those who blame Mr. President for some of these incidents are right to. But it is also, a little view that not all of these incidents are ordered by Mr. President. Mr. President may not even be aware of some of them, because I believe that we have security institutions that see it as their responsibility to do all to protect the government in power against its citizens, even when law-abiding citizens. And so you find them going against anyone or anything that seems to even remotely threaten the position of those in power, not threaten them, with fiscal harm or anything, but threaten the idea of them holding on to those seats. You find Nigerian security agencies going against those people that might give the slightest threat to those people who hold those positions of power. Now, it must be said that these are very bad signs for a country that claims to be in a democracy. It is not a democracy when labor groups, civil society groups, thought leaders, activists, and all within that space seem to be routinely targeted to maybe silence them. The charge of treason is now so cheapened in Nigeria as it is just thrown to just anyone, even those armed with nothing but a pencil. It is not a democracy when citizens are not allowed to protest or express their views about the government of the day. If you remember, on the 12th of June, in President Tinubu's speech, he said that, I'll quote him, he says, "My fellow Nigerians, let me begin by congratulating all of us for witnessing the celebration of another Democracy Day today, the 12th of June, 2024. This year also marks our nation's 25 years of uninterrupted democratic governance." But the thing is, end of quote, democracy isn't simply the absence of military rule. Democracy isn't simply leadership dressed in agbada or kaftan. That is not democracy. Any government that seems to silence the voice of its citizens and take away their rights to protest is not a democratic government. It's also important to say that the blackmail that we've heard lately of telling protesters to wait till the next election before they can express themselves through the ballot as the only way of changing the status quo is ignoring the fact that it is a democratic system and it is democratic to demand the removal of a government through impeachment. And there's no specific time frame before citizens can make that demand. If citizens just 2 weeks after inauguration sense that you as a government, as a leader, are wasting their time, the Constitution gives them the right to demand your impeachment at any time. And from what it seems, as it stands today, not many Nigerians have any faith in the current government. Many Nigerians believe that this is just another waste of 4 years of their lives. And that is why there are constant calls for a protest almost every month. I'll use this as a reminder to all Nigerians that any government, like I've said in the past, that doesn't take deliberate and intentional steps to fixing Nigeria is wasting your 4 to 8 years of your life that you will never get back. Good morning, Nigerians.
And that's how we wrap up the show today. We will keep asking the questions that need to be asked and hoping that we get the answers and the quality of government that Nigerians deserve. We'll be back again tomorrow, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. But for now, we have other shows that will continue right after we step out the studio, so please do not tune away. I'll see you tomorrow morning. I am Olive Emodi.
And I am Osaogi Ogbon. See you tomorrow.